My name is Olivia. I'm 26 now, but this story started when I was just 20. It was a time in my life when I thought I had everything figured out. College, friends, a career path. I was confident, independent, and convinced that nothing could shake my world. I was wrong. I met Daniel in the spring of my sophomore year. He wasn't a student. He worked at a local tech firm and volunteered on campus helping with media production workshops. That's how we crossed paths. I was trying to learn how to use professional editing software for a documentary project, and he was assigned to guide me. Daniel was 29, charming, patient, and effortlessly charismatic. He had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room. And when you're 20 and unsure about so many things, that kind of attention feels like a gift. It felt like he saw something in me others didn't. Something deeper. We started spending time together outside of the workshops. First coffee, then dinner. Then one night we sat in his car in the campus parking lot for 3 hours just talking. I remember feeling so safe, so connected. When he dropped me off, he said, "You're rare, Olivia. Don't let the world change you." I couldn't stop smiling for days. Looking back, that was the first red flag. Not because of what he said, but how I felt. Like I had already given him power over my emotions. We started dating. It was secretive at first, mostly because of our age gap and his affiliation with the university. I didn't mind. It felt like we were in our own little world. We'd go on long drives, watch documentaries together, talk about philosophy and film. He challenged me, inspired me, and slowly began to influence every part of my life. I stopped going out with friends. I spent less time on campus. Even my grades dipped a little. But I told myself it was worth it, because Daniel understood me. He wasn't controlling, at least not in the traditional sense. He never raised his voice or gave ultimatums. Instead, he used words, subtle suggestions, questions like, "Do you really think your friends support you?" Or, "Are you sure your major will make you happy?" And so I changed. Slowly, quietly. I switched my major. I stopped texting certain people back. I even changed how I dressed, all because I wanted to please him, to be the version of Olivia that he adored. 6 months in, the highs were still high, but the lows began to show. He started disappearing for days. He'd say he was busy with work or needed space. And I'd wait, anxious, obsessive. I'd replay every conversation wondering if I had said something wrong. When he came back, he always had a story. He was stressed. He was dealing with something I wouldn't understand. And I believed him. Because love is patient, right? What I didn't see then was how much of myself I had already lost. One night, I found messages on his tablet. Conversations with other women. Flirty, suggestive, intimate. I confronted him. He didn't deny it. Instead, he flipped the script. "I've been feeling suffocated. You've changed. You're not the girl I fell for." I remember crying for hours, but even then, I didn't leave. I apologized. I promised to be better. He left anyway. For 2 months, we didn't speak. I spiraled. My confidence, already paper thin, crumbled. I stopped going to class. I barely ate. And then, as suddenly as he had disappeared, he came back. "I miss you," he said. "But we need to start over. With rules." Rules. That's how the second phase began. He didn't want me posting photos. He asked for access to my messages. He decided who I could hang out with. And I agreed, because I thought that if I just did everything right, he'd stay. But he didn't. He left again, and came back, over and over. And each time I was a little smaller, a little quieter, a little more willing to give up pieces of myself. Then, one evening, my roommate, God bless her, sat me down. She showed me an old photo of me and said, "Look at her. Do you even recognize her?" I didn't. That girl was vibrant, full of life, passionate about documentaries and social causes. She had dreams. And somewhere along the way, I had buried her to make room for someone else's idea of love. That night, I wrote in my journal for the first time in months. And this is what I wrote. I want to come home to myself. It took time, therapy, rebuilding friendships, relearning how to be alone without being lonely. But step by step, I did it. I reclaimed my mornings, my passions, my sense of humor. I even finished the documentary I had started when I met Daniel. It ended up winning a student award. I started journaling again daily. At first, it was just to vent, to cry out on paper. But then it became a way to track my healing. I wrote down the things I loved, books I rediscovered, places I visited, new recipes I tried.
Eventually, I
I was reintroducing
mentoring
first-year
myself to
students
joy.
at my university. I told them to trust themselves, to listen to their gut. One student told me, "You helped me feel seen in a place where I felt invisible." That moment meant the world to me. It showed me how far I had come. Now, 3 years later, I look at that chapter of my life with clarity, not shame. I realize how easy it is to confuse control with care, manipulation with passion. And I'm learning that boundaries are not walls. They're windows that let the right people in while keeping the wrong ones out. I share my story not because I want sympathy, but because I know there's someone out there who feels stuck, who thinks they're unlovable without bending. If that's you, please hear me. You are not too much. You are not too complicated. You do not have to shrink to be loved. Real love expands you. It lifts you up. And if it asks you to dim your light, it's not love. This was Olivia. And this was my confession. Thank you for listening.